Hello, Shalom Aleichem, a good Tevach. I hope everyone had a good Shabbos, and it was Rosh Chodesh Ov, and okay, so we'll start the 9 days and do the best we can. Get ready for Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, do the best we can, and Hashem should help, and we should get soon. The Beis HaMikdash should be rebuilt. Amen. Speedily, and in our time. And anyway, we can do the best we can with Hashem's help. Anyway, I saw in the there's a sefer called Insights in the Torah by Rav Zalman Sorotzkin. Let's take a look at it. Something on the Parsha of Mattos. Let's take a look at it. Let's see. This is it. This is Insights in the Torah by Midbar. These are his notes, Rav Zalman Sorotzkin, Zatzal. So he a couple of psukim in the Torah, and then this is his commentary. So we can look at it. So the top over here, Vayedaber Moshe el Roshei Hamatos Livnei Yisrael Leimor Zeh Hadavor Asher Tziva Hashem. Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes of the children of Israel, saying, this is the thing that Hashem has commanded. This is the thing. Zeh Hadavar. So this is, they look into this, Zeh Hadavar. This is the thing. It means something special. Asher Tziva Hashem, that Hashem has commanded us. Ish ki yidor neder l'Hashem. A man, if he makes a neder to Hashem, he shava shvuah, or he makes he swears something, le'asor isor al nafsho, to make something prohibited for him from doing it. Lo yachel devaro kichol hayotzei mipiv yaseh. He shouldn't go back on his words. He shouldn't make his words profane. Profane meaning he shouldn't make. If he says something, he has to make sure he does it. That's yachel means he makes it like chol, like nothing, God forbid. In other words, if he says something, he's got to really make sure to carry it out. Kichol hayotzei mipiv yaseh. Everything that comes out of his mouth, he should do. If a man takes a vow to Hashem or swears an oath, if a man takes a vow to Hashem or swears an oath to establish a prohibition upon himself, he shall not desecrate his words. He should not desecrate his words. According to whatever comes from his mouth, shall he do. Okay. So according to whatever comes from his mouth, shall he do. So let's take a look over here. So here, this is on the pasuk. Zeh hadavor el roshei hamatos. Moshe said this to the heads of the tribes. Zeh hadavor. This is the thing. To the heads of the tribes. This is the thing. The Sifri quoted by Rashi comments. One may have thought that this portion was said only to the heads of the tribes. Therefore, the Torah uses the words Zeh hadavor, this is the thing, to teach us that the portion was said before Aaron and his sons and all the congregation of Israel. Therefore, the Torah teaches the words Zeh hadavor, this is the thing, to teach us that the portion was said before Aaron and his sons and all the congregation of Israel. This comment requires explanation. How could one possibly think that this chapter was addressed only to the heads of the tribes? Oh, that's why it says it, because it says Livnei Yisrael Zeh hadavar el Roshi Mattos Levnei Yisrael Lemor Zeh hadavar. So it says Zeh hadavar. How could one possibly think that this chapter was addressed only to the heads of the tribe? How could one possibly think that this chapter was addressed only to the heads of the tribe? What is unique in these laws that would be more applicable to them than to anyone else in Israel? Indeed, there is a reason to think that these laws were meant specifically for the heads of the tribe. When leaders are elected, it is often on the basis of ideas they promise to implement and new programs they claim they will institute. After their appointment, however, it becomes apparent that it is not as easy as it seemed to carry out these promises. Since it is people in positions of prominence that often find themselves making assurances and later realizing they cannot fulfill them, one might have assumed that the exhortations of "he shall not desecrate his word," and according to whatever comes from his mouth he do, were addressed specifically to these men. In other words, leaders are the ones that, in order to get to be a leader, they make promises and they make assurances, then later realize that they cannot fulfill them. So in other words, we might think this is just for the Roshi Mattos. Therefore we learn, one may have thought that this portion was said only to the heads of the tribes of Israel. Therefore the Torah uses the word Zeh hadavar, this is the thing, to teach us that the portion was said before Aharon and his sons and all the congregation of Israel. So Zeh hadavar teaches us that it was said in front of Aharon and his sons and all the congregation of Israel. Because we thought maybe he's talking about that one should make sure to do what one says. This has to do with leaders. But no, was said to everybody, not leaders also, and to everybody. Lemor Zeh hadavar asher tzivu Hashem. Saying, or to say, that this is the thing that the sages, that this is the thing that Hashem has commanded. The word Lemor, here let's just make sure that you can read this, just in case the camera stops. Okay, anyway. Saying, or to say, that this is the thing that Hashem has commanded. The word Lemor is always interpreted by the sages as meaning that the statement which follows was to be retold to someone else, usually to the congregation. Lemor so means the statement which follows was to be retold to someone else, usually to the congregation. This verse should therefore be understood. Moses said to the heads of the tribes of Israel to tell the congregation as follows: this is the thing. Since Lemor precedes Zeh hadavar, this is the thing, it is apparent that these words were also part of the message, in addition to the laws of vows and oaths, that the heads of the tribes themselves were to impart to the congregation. Evidently, there is a deeper meaning behind these words. The phrase may be interpreted in another way. Since the Lemor precedes Zeh hadavar, this is the thing, it is apparent that these words were also part of the message, in addition to the laws of vows and oaths that the heads of the tribes themselves were to impart to the congregation. Evidently, there is a deeper meaning behind these words. The phrase may be interpreted in another way. Zeh hadavar, this matter of taking a vow, asher tzivu Hashem, should be as serious to you as a prohibition declared by Hashem himself. If someone vows not to partake of some food or other pleasures this food or item attains the same status vis-a-vis that person as pig meat or carrion, which are forbidden for consumption by the Torah. In other words, zehadavar, it's interpreted in this way, zehadavar, this matter of taking a vow, asher tziva Hashem, should be, in other words, zehadavar, asher tziva Hashem, this thing of taking a vow should be as serious to you as asher tziva Hashem, that which Hashem has commanded. Should be as serious to you as a prohibition decreed by Hashem himself. If someone vows not to partake of some food or some other pleasures, this food or item attains the same status vis-a-vis that person as pig meat or carrion, that which are forbidden for consumption by the Torah. If one makes a neder not to eat a certain thing, God forbid, so then that becomes as forbidden to him as chazer, as pig or carrion. In other words, that is the same thing as what Hashem has commanded. That takes on the same status as that you cannot do it as what Hashem said. Let's take another look. The commentary Hakasav Yakabala shows that there is a different meaning. When the word zeh precedes the word, it modifies, such as zeh ho'isheh or zeh hayom, and when it follows the word, it modifies, such as bayis zeh or hayom hazeh. Bayis zeh, this house, or hayom hazeh, this day. In the latter case, zeh is a demonstrative pronoun, and merely serves to stress that we are dealing with this house or this day rather than another. In the former case, if when it's in front, in the former case, however, when zeh precedes the noun, let's make sure we get it all. In the former case, however, when zeh precedes the noun, it indicates a matter of exceptional and unique importance. In Hadibor, in Hadeya v'Hadibor, I explained, this is HaRav Zalman Sorotzkin. HaRav Zalman Sorotzkin. Okay. In Hadeya v'Hadibor, I explained that the Torah uses the phrase Zeh hadavar, that this is the thing, or this is the word, 10 times in each case. I demonstrated that the verse was an illustration of the importance and impact of man's power of speech. It's very important, man's power of speech. In this case, the Torah teaches us, through the power of the words that come out of one's mouth, man can transpose an object from the realm of the permitted to the realm of the forbidden, or change an act from being optional to being obligatory. If one makes a neder to do something, one has to do it. It's not that one can do it if one wants to, or one has to do it if one makes a neder to do something, a vow to do something. We have difficulty understanding why certain foods are permitted by the Torah, but we rely on the infinite wisdom of Hashem, who tells us that these foods are in some way unhealthy for the human soul. But when man forbids a certain food to himself through a vow, it is even more difficult to comprehend how this piece of bread now, though it's through its newly conferred status of forbidden food, can possibly be unhealthy for anyone's soul, since it was quite healthy and acceptable only a few moments before. To stress this extraordinary, far-reaching power of man's speech, his ability to alter the very spiritual properties of an object, the Torah uses the expression zeh hadavor, This is the power of speech. Davar means talking, speech. Davar. Lidaber, to talk. So to stress this extraordinary, far-reaching power of man's speech, his ability to alter his very spiritual properties of an object, the Torah uses the expression Zeh Davar, i.e., this is the power of speech, Davar. Perhaps this idea can shed some light on the question of why this chapter in particular, unlike all the other portions of the Torah, was related to the Israelites through the heads of the tribes and not directly. The heads of the tribe, elsewhere referred to as Nasi, has a certain halachic status. All people are commanded to show him respect. And if he sins, he must bring a special kind of sin offering, unlike that brought by a commoner. See Vayikra 4:22, Shemos 22:27. How was this exalted status attained? Through the declaration of the congregation's representatives. Through the declaration of the congregation's representatives. In other words, through their speech and their talking, the congregation's representatives. The heads of the tribes were themselves personifications of the idea that a mere utterance, a halachic status, can be conferred upon a heretofore ordinary object. It is for this very reason that they were chosen to convey the message about the power of vows, oaths, and utterances of one's mouth to the people. So this is from the Parsha of Parshas Mattos, Parshas Mattos, and this Sefer is Insights in the Torah, Bamidbar, the Chumash with translation, and the complete classic commentary of the master Rav and Maggid Rabbi Zalman Sorotzkin. So this is by HaRav Zalman Sorotzkin. Very good, thank you. Parshas Mattos. Okay, thank you so much, thank you. And a good Tavach, and soll sein gut bei Jeden, and Refuos and Yeshuos. Zu allem hin.